The COVID-19 outbreak, now a pandemic according to the WHO, is rapidly evolving into a human tragedy, disrupting economic activity in a wide swath of affected countries. Financial markets across the world are experiencing intense volatility, and financial conditions have tightened worldwide. Policy authorities have responded with emergency measures, and more recently, advanced economies have coordinated large policy rate reductions with activation of swap lines as well as quantitative and credit easing. Tentative estimates of consequent loss of global growth are currently placed in the range of 0.4 to 1.5%. India already sectors such as tourism, airlines, the hospitality industry and domestic trade and transport are suffering a loss of activity. More immediately, spillovers are being transmitted through finance and confidence channels to overseas and domestic equity markets. Forex and bond markets are also not immune to the current volatile conditions. There is considerable uncertainty about the duration of the pandemic, and the currently available estimates of its adverse effects will undergo sizable revisions if this coronavirus persists longer or if it gets contained much earlier than currently believed. It is important to ensure that policy reactions are carefully considered and calibrated so as to assuage sentiment and instill confidence. In this context, the Reserve Bank has been taking several calibrated measures over the past few days to ensure that financial markets and institutions remain sound and resilient, and also to build confidence more generally in the financial system. In fact, the lack of response to our 7-day repo auction of rupees 25,000 crore, which was conducted on March 13th, has reassured us that domestic liquidity conditions remain comfortable. It is important that policy space is used appropriately and is suitably timed to optimize its impact. The RBI has several instruments at its command and stands ready. I repeat, the RBI has several policy instruments at its command and stands ready to take all necessary measures to ensure that the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on the Indian economy are mitigated and financial markets and institutions in India continue to function normally. The level of forex reserves, as you would be aware, remains comfortable to meet any exigency. With regard to the Yes Bank, you would recall earlier that I had stated on Friday, which is 6th of March, that is the one day after the moratorium was announced, that the RBI will come out with a scheme very swiftly and very quickly. And as you would have seen, swift action has been taken by the Reserve Bank of India and by the government. There has been very active coordination between the Government of India, the Finance Ministry and the Reserve Bank. If I can just recapitulate the dates, the moratorium was announced on Thursday, 5th of March. The very next day, 6th of March, the draft scheme was put out in the public domain, and the final scheme was notified again on the next Friday, that is between Friday and the next Friday on 13th of March, the final scheme, the final reconstruction scheme has been notified by the Government of India. The lifting of moratorium is taking place after 3 working days of putting the final scheme in, after notification of the final scheme, and that will be on Wednesday, 18th March at 6 p.m. The moratorium gets lifted, and the new board, as you would be aware from the notification, the new board will assume its position, and the office of the administrator will cease to exist on 26th of March. So as you can see, this has been a very swift and fast action, perhaps a record of a sort. With regard to the restructuring scheme which has been notified by the government, I would like to say that it is a very credible and sustainable restructuring plan. We do believe it is credible and it will sustain in the years to come. It is also an instance, perhaps the first of its type, it is also an instance of public-private partnership for revival of a private sector bank. Apart from the State Bank of India, you have leading private sector banks which are major stakeholders in the banking sector, both the public sector segment led by the State Bank of India and major private sector players, major private sector banks have joined hands to revive the Yes Bank and to take the restructuring scheme forward. In that way also, it is perhaps the first of its type. And in India, on earlier occasions, whenever there was failure of a scheduled commercial bank, the usual method has been amalgamation of the failed bank with a larger entity. This time we have not done so. This time the identity of the Yes Bank, the bank which is in difficulty, the identity of that bank is retained and the investors are the banks which have come forward. The depositors' money is absolutely safe. I would take this opportunity through you to convey to all the depositors of Yes Bank that their money, their deposits with the Yes Bank are completely safe, and there is no reason for any undue worry, or there is no need for rushing into withdrawing their deposits or their money which is with the Yes Bank. Their money is safe. After 6 p.m. on Wednesday, which is 18th of March, they can draw their money, but there is absolutely no reason for them, no need for them to go for panic withdrawal or for getting unduly worried.